In the wide, dry lands of Canaan, under a hot sun that turned the hills golden, a young man walked. He wore no crown, carried no staff. Joseph wasn't a king. His kingdom was the quiet pastures, and his subjects, a flock of gentle sheep. He commanded no army, sat in no council. He wasn't a leader. To his brothers, who were tough from hard work and jealousy, he was just a dreamer, a teenager wearing a colourful coat that showed a special favour they thought he didn't deserve. He was the youngest, the one whose visions of wheat stalks and stars bowing down seemed to come from pride, not from a prophecy. Soon, he wouldn't even be a free man. Sold, betrayed, taken from his land and his father, he would become a piece of goods, a slave whose life was no longer his own. His name would be erased, his future destroyed, his identity reduced to that of a servant in a foreign land. He was at his lowest, stripped of everything that made him a son, a brother, a man. And yet, in the quiet of this seeming hopelessness, a bigger plan was already at work. Because long before the betrayal happened, long before the pit became his first prison, God had already decided to make him a tool for saving a whole nation. God's plan isn't a reaction to our sad times. It comes before them. He weaves the fabric of our lives with threads we can't see, turning our darkest troubles into paths toward amazing glory. Welcome to our channel, JM Impact Plus. We invite you to stay with us until the end of this story, because Joseph's story is much more than just an old tale. It's like a mirror for our own lives, a timeless source of inspiration that speaks to us today with new strength. Once again, we are moving forward together on a spiritual journey, an adventure of faith that promises to be as exciting as it is rewarding. Every step of Joseph's life, from the pit to Pharaoh's court, is a powerful lesson about strength, forgiveness, and God's never-ending faithfulness. The story of Joseph, as told in the book of Genesis, teaches us a truly amazing truth, a divine rule that turns our human logic upside down. What betrays you doesn't destroy your destiny. Instead, it can become the thing that makes it happen. His brother's jealousy, the ultimate act of betrayal, didn't end God's promise. It unknowingly put Joseph on the exact path that would lead him to his purpose. Think about it in your own life. That hurt, that unfairness, that door that slammed shut. What if it wasn't the end, but the forced start of a new chapter written by a hand wiser than our own? And even more, what traps you can actually lift you up? The empty pit, Potiphar's house where he was falsely accused, the royal prison where he was forgotten. Each of these places of confinement was a step in his training. In the loneliness of prison, he learned patience. By interpreting the dreams of his fellow prisoners, he sharpened the gift God had given him. Every wall that held him in was actually a step on the ladder that led him to the throne. The hard time wasn't a punishment, but a preparation. Does your current situation feel like a prison? A financial, relationship, or work situation that's suffocating you? Look closer. Look for the lesson, the chance to grow, because it's often in our prisons that we find the keys to our freedom and our rise. Joseph's story promises us this. God is a master at turning dead ends into wide roads, and prisoners into princes. In the wide lands of Canaan, in the middle of a big and complicated family, lived a father named Jacob. His life was like a rug woven with struggles, faith, and God's promises. Among his 12 sons, one held a special place in his heart. Joseph, the child born when Jacob was old, from Rachel, the wife he loved more than anyone. Joseph is Jacob's favorite son. Every time the old man looked at the boy, it was a mix of fatherly pride and the sweet and sad memory of a lost love. This deep love, though normal, would become the first step in building a wall of disagreement. To show this special love, Jacob gave Joseph a gift that would make him stand out forever. He got a special coat, a sign of favor. This wasn't just any piece of clothing. It was a kethaneth pasim, a long-sleeved robe, richly decorated, often worn by kings or priests. In a family of shepherds who wore rough, practical clothes, this coat loudly showed he was special, didn't have to do hard work, and maybe even, in his brothers' eyes, had a claim to their father's money and leadership. Every colourful thread seemed to weave an invisible wall between Joseph and the others. And just like a flame attracts moths, favour attracts hate. But this favour attracts jealousy. For the 10 older brothers, this coat was a daily reminder that they were less important. They saw Joseph not as a brother, but as a rival, the favourite who was stealing their father's love. Their hearts, already hurt by the problems of their family with many wives, filled with a bitterness that kept growing. It was in this tense time that God stepped in. God doesn't always pick peaceful times to show his plans. Sometimes he plants his visions in the middle of a storm. Joseph had dreams so clear, so strong, that they couldn't be ignored. In the first one, he saw bundles of wheat bowing down, his own bundle standing straight while his brothers' bundles bowed to it. Then, a second dream, even bolder. He saw stars honouring him, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowing down to him. Joseph, being young and perhaps not very wise, didn't keep these secrets to himself. He spoke. He shared these visions with the very people who already looked down on him. He didn't understand yet that the new wine of a divine vision can't be poured into the old wineskins of envy and bitterness. When they heard these stories, his brother's jealousy turned into a darker, more dangerous feeling. The dreamer became the enemy. The Bible tells us that they hated him even more. He spoke, and his brothers hated him. They didn't see God's hand but the pride of a stuck-up young man. This is a lesson that lasts forever and is often hard. When God gives you a vision, a promise, a dream for your life, don't expect everyone to clap for you. Your vision is a special seed planted in your mind. It was given to you, and only you fully understand it. Sharing it too soon, or with the wrong people, is like exposing it to the winds of doubt, criticism, and jealousy. Protect the vision God gave you. Keep it safe in your heart, water it with prayer and faith before showing it to the world. Joseph's story teaches us this basic rule. God's favour often causes people to be against you. When God lifts you up, it can show the insecurities of others. Your light might bother those who are used to darkness. But never let people being against you put out God's plan for you. His brothers' hate didn't stop Joseph's dreams. Instead, without them knowing it, it became the very tool that would push Joseph towards his amazing future. Being opposed isn't always a sign that you're going the wrong way. Sometimes, it's proof that you are indeed walking on the path God has set for you. One day, his brothers took action. Joseph was beaten, stripped of his tunic, thrown into a pit, sold as a slave. He didn't do anything wrong. And yet, he lost everything. A troubling truth. God sometimes allows unfair things to happen to make a bigger plan come true. The pit wasn't the end, it was a change. Joseph arrives in Egypt at Potiphar's house. Everything he touches turns to gold. God is with him, but a new test arrives. Temptation. Joseph refuses to sin, and he is punished for his loyalty. Being loyal doesn't guarantee an easy life, but loyalty attracts God's favour. Joseph is thrown into prison, forgotten, silent, invisible. But even there, God is with him. Joseph interprets the dreams of others, but his own is forgotten. When God seems quiet, he's actually getting you ready. A delay isn't a no. One day, Pharaoh has a dream. No one can figure it out. So Joseph is remembered. In one day, Joseph leaves prison. He speaks before the king. He gets power and authority. God makes the dream come true. What God promises, He always delivers. God's promotion comes suddenly. The famine hits. Nations are suffering. But thanks to Joseph, Egypt survives. People are fed. Israel is saved. Joseph finally understands. You meant to harm me, but God turned it into good. We're almost at the end of our journey through Joseph's life. But really, this is where your own story starts to make new sense. Joseph's epic tale isn't just an old story, something from the past. It's like a mirror held up to our souls. It's a love letter and a message of hope written by God, traveling through thousands of years to land today, in your hands, in the quiet of your heart. Joseph's story is talking to you, right here, right now. It talks to you if, like him, you've known the bitter taste of betrayal. If you've been betrayed, know that God is getting you ready. Betrayal, especially from those we love, breaks us. It leaves us empty, confused, and makes us doubt if people are good at all. You feel like you've been thrown into an empty pit, stripped of your coat of trust. But look at Joseph. It was in that pain that his character started to be shaped. Every wound became a lesson. Every tear watered the field of his future wisdom. God wasn't using people's meanness, but he was redirecting it for a bigger plan. Your betrayal isn't the end of your story. It might be the painful but necessary start of your preparation. God is shaping you for responsibilities you can't even imagine yet. He's teaching you to rely only on him because he never betrays. Joseph's story talks to you if you feel like you're at rock bottom. If you're in the pit, know that God sees you. The pit, whether it's sadness, a terrible money problem, sickness, or feeling very alone, is a dark and hopeless place. You feel invisible, screaming into an empty space where no one hears. But Psalm 139 reminds us, even the darkness is not dark to you, the night shines like the day. God isn't just watching from far away. He is with you in the pit. He saw Joseph in the well. He saw him in Potiphar's prison. He sees every tear you cry in secret. Your pit isn't a grave, it's a waiting room. And the God who brought Joseph out of prison is the same God who has the power to bring you out. Your cry isn't lost in the emptiness. It rises to his ears like a prayer. Joseph's story talks to you if you feel left behind and forgotten. If you're forgotten, know that God is working. Joseph told the cupbearer what his dream meant, and the cupbearer promised to remember him. But he forgot. 2 whole years. 2 years of silence, waiting, and hopes that didn't come true. Maybe you're waiting for a promotion that never happens, healing that takes too long, a promise that seems to have disappeared. You feel like God put you on a shelf and forgot where he put you. But God's silence isn't him being gone. During those 2 years, God wasn't just sitting around. He was waiting for the perfect time. The time when Pharaoh would have a dream that no one could understand. The time when the only answer would be a forgotten man in prison. Your waiting time isn't wasted time. It's a time for you to grow. God is working behind the scenes, lining things up, getting hearts ready. Your time will come, and it will be perfect. Joseph's story talks to you if, no matter what, you choose to stay good. If you are faithful, know that God will lift you up. Joseph's biggest test might not have been prison, but the temptation in Potiphar's house. He could have given in. He could have told himself, after all I've been through, I deserve a little fun, no one will know. But he chose to do what was right. He chose to honor God, even if it cost him his freedom. Being faithful in the little things, in the secret moments when no one is watching us, is the seed for future greatness. God watches your heart. He sees your honesty at work, your truthfulness with your money, your purity in your relationships. Every no to temptation is a yes to God, and God honors those who honor him. Your faithfulness builds the foundation of the palace God will bring you into one day. Being lifted up isn't the goal itself. It's what naturally happens when you live a life of obedience. That's why we can say with total certainty, your future is bigger than your past. Your past, with its scars, its failures, and its pains, doesn't decide your future. Joseph could have stayed the betrayed slave or the forgotten prisoner, but God called him the savior of his nation. The bad things that happened to you, the mistakes you made, God can take it all and weave it into the beautiful tapestry of your destiny. He is the expert at making things right. He turns pits into palaces, prisons into thrones, and betrayals into ways of being saved. Don't let your past hold you hostage anymore. The windshield of your life is much bigger than your rearview mirror. Look ahead, because God has written a story of grace and glory there, slowly. So take a deep breath. Let go. Stop trying so hard to understand everything, to control everything, and let this truth sink deep into your being. God never lost control of your life, even when you thought you had lost it. Every turn, every delay, every disappointment was part of the journey. He held the map, even when you only saw fog. Trust him. Trust his timing. Trust his plan. Your story isn't an accident. You are his masterpiece, and the artist is still at work. If this message touched your heart, if Joseph's story brought back your hope, then please like this video. Your like encourages us and helps others find this content. For more stories that build faith and inspire the soul, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything, especially Chapter 5. And if you think of someone who is going through a tough time, who feels betrayed or forgotten, share this video with them. A simple share can be God's message for that person today. Thank you so much for watching. Be blessed, and see you very soon for a new video.